Good morning, everyone, and happy Sankranti. And a warm welcome to the session 5 of the Expert Speak series. This talk is the fifth in the series to be presented by our esteemed guest speaker today, Shri Dr. Sudhir Kumar Goel, nuclear scientist and IAS officer and an ex-agricultural secretary of Maharashtra. So far, we have had four distinguished guests on the Expert Speak series, Dr. Ramanjaneyalu, Dr. Elangu, and Dr. Ashokalu, and Dr. Supal Singh, who have shared their enormous takeaways from the illustrious careers in rural development, contributing to the theme of our documentary film, Sankalpam. These national level leaders and experts are also contributing towards the development of Village Business Hub, a model to facilitate rural livelihoods and sustainable and successful rural enterprises like the FPOs. This Village Business Hub shall be proposed in the docufilm and shall be dedicated to the nation and the youth of the country who would participate as startups, entrepreneurs, and agripreneurs to mitigate the widespread rural distress and fragile rural incomes nagging our villages. Indeed, it's an honor to have you, sir, on our Expert Speak series today, which is a precursor to our planned documentary film Sankalpam, to be directed by the acclaimed filmmakers Shri Ajay Kanchan and Shri Mahesh Bhatt. Dr. Sudhir Kumar Goel, PhD in Physics, IAS. He has done his Masters in Development Studies, University of Bath, UK, PhD in Physics. Formerly a researcher in nuclear physics, Baba Atomic Research Center. He joined Indian Administrative Service, IAS, in 1982. He held various senior positions in the state of Maharashtra, mostly linked to the field of agriculture and cooperation. He has served 7 years as Agricultural Commissioner, 6 years as Commissioner and Secretary Cooperatives. He also served as Director General for Special Projects tackling suicide among farmers, Vidarbha. He worked as Principal Secretary and then Additional Chief Secretary of Agriculture. He was also responsible for attracting an investment of US dollars 1 billion a year in the field of integrated value chains. He has extensive experience working on various projects funded by the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and International Fund for Agricultural Development. Retired in July 2015 and working as a consultant thereafter. His interests lie in establishing a public-private partnership framework for integrated value chains. We are happy to listen to you, sir. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mansa, very much. Now, on this auspicious day, let me start my talk, and I would request that esteemed audience, they can scribble on a piece of paper whatever questions they have, and by the end of the talk, we can have some lively discussion. Now, two important part of the title which are there, transforming agriculture, and second part is integrated value chain. Now these two things can mean different kind of connotations for anyone with differing backgrounds. So I would like to first take up what do I mean by transforming agriculture, and what is that this integrated value chain, and then we will try to connect the two. Is it possible that we transform agriculture by establishing integrated agri value chains? So that is the theme of my talk today. Another thing which I was told by Suresh ji that I should focus on is that in this process, how can we enthuse agri entrepreneurs, ag tech players to become the part of the value chain? Or can we have a new kind of startups which are coming to have this transformation of agriculture with the help of value chains? Can we also have agri verticals I will explain later on what do I mean by agri verticals versus agri horizontals to become service providers. And in what way the farmers collectives, whether you call them FPO or FPC or farmers cooperatives, could be useful in this process. Now, that is in short what I intend to cover during this talk. Now, let us say, what do we mean by transforming agriculture? This concept is being talked about by many thinkers, and I would take up the definition or the thinking of World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum in 2009 started a program, New Vision on Agriculture, and it has expanded to 25 countries, and now it has become a global phenomenon, what they call the food systems, or they call the transformation of the food system. So the food innovation hubs are coming at different places, and India is one of them. Now, transforming agriculture has three verticals. The first vertical is food security. The food security part has been now encompassed and extended into the concept of food and nutritional security, or what we call food for all in terms of calories and food for all in terms of nutrients, so that there is a diversified food basket. Many argue that we are food secure, and in government parlance, everyone says we are food secure. Are we? That is one part which needs to be discussed seriously. We still have imports of more than 70,000 crores, or 2/3 of our edible oil requirement. Pulses, till recently we were importing 5 million tons, though it has come down, but still every year we have to see that whether we meet our nutritional or protein requirement in terms of pulses. Still, there are areas where we have some deficit depending upon the vagaries of nature. Now, this is on deficit side. Excess side, we are excess in those crops where we use huge amount of water, and we resort to exports, whether it is paddy or whether it is sugarcane, and two put together, we export of an order of 70,000 crores. So it means we import those crops which are very efficient in terms of water usage, and we export those crops where we use much more water. So we are not exporting crops, we are exporting water, and that way we are making our groundwater and surface water deficit. We have reached from 5,000 kiloliters per capita when we achieved our independence to 1,500 kiloliters now per capita. On the other hand, we have excess milk, 180 million tons. Nutra cereals, we were quite good in terms of jowar, bajra, and many of the millets, but now the area has gone into some other crops, and so we are deficit in terms of that nutritional crops because the market is lost. In case of maize, you will find some year we are in excess, some year we are in deficit, and we have problems with the poultry industry. In cotton, same situation. Sometimes we are deficit, sometimes we are excess, and so there is a fluctuation. In case of fruits and vegetables, though we are in excess at some pockets, but we are deficit in another pocket, and then you find that this, in the lack of integrated value chain, and the situation of deficit and excess continues, and there is a geographical kind of a diversity which we find. Malnutrition is high. I need not spend time on that in terms of how many of our children are malnutrition, and there is a problem of obesity which is coming up, a kind of phenomena which was heard only in developed countries, and now it has become with us. There are lots of mistakes. All this put together does not give a feeling that we are food and nutrition secure. So this is the first part, that probably we will have to go from the present situation to a situation where the food and nutrition is available to all. And that becomes our first vertical, or first, we can say, part of the transformation of agriculture, or first bucket. What is the second bucket? Agriculture should also lead to huge opportunities for our growers as well as those who are the parts of the value chain till the food produce reaches the market. So it should drive economic opportunity. Now, is it doing that? Now we are seeing that situational SAS survey, agriculture survey, which has the results came only recently, where it is based on 2018. The share of income of a rural household engaged in agriculture from crops has come down from 2012. So in terms of the income of a household from agriculture has come down. And the wage income has gone up, non-farm income has gone up. And the income levels are as low as 10,000 per month. And that is the kind of income level. There is an unequal distribution of income across the value chain. Now, recently, Prime Minister was talking about 8.5 lakh crore is our milk industry. But the farmer share is 4 lakh crores. It means more income there is in post-harvest, in trade, in transport, in processing, in exports. Farmers are not part of it. So in a complete value chain where the agriculture produce reaches in the hands of the consumers, in some cases, the farmer share is as low as 20% in many of the fruits and vegetables. In terms of input supply, or in terms of the output handling, processing, transport, it is dominated by non-farmers. So it is dominated mostly by urban entrepreneurs, corporate sectors. And that part of wealth, of value chain, has gone away from the farmers. It was never a part of the farmer's income. The entire value chain, if you see, a small part remains with the farmers. So that has created a kind of a situation where the investments are low, wastages are high, inefficiencies are high. And in this kind of a situation, the economic opportunities, while in agriculture per se, as a food sector, it reaches up to a level of 600 and more $billion per year. The agriculture share remains at $350 billion. Now that is I'm talking about only food. If you add in terms of your value addition in terms of sericulture, in terms of fabric, the number is much higher. Now, that is the kind of economic opportunity. The economic opportunity has gone from the hands of the farmers into the hands of those players which are handling the raw produce from the farmers and taking it forward to the consumers. So that is our second bucket of transformation. How do we transform so that the farmers, the share of the farmers' income in the consumer price is higher? The third is, and which is the talk of the town. We talk about climate change, we talk about environmental sustainability, and so on. Soil is deteriorating, water is depleting, there is an inefficient use of water, water availability is unpredictable, microbes are missing from the soil, chemical contamination is increasing, food safety is not sure, it is having issues, and so the consumers are worried about it. 25% and more of greenhouse gases are coming from agriculture. That has become a kind of a global, say, uh, a criticism for Indian conditions because of our huge animal population. And then from there, we have a methane gas which is coming out from bio waste and animal waste. And climate smart agriculture is still not adopted by a very large number of farmers. In fact, it is only minuscule of those. It is only recently we have started talking about climate smart agriculture. These three buckets of food security, economic opportunity, and environmental sustainability put together gives us an idea that we need a transformation in agriculture. Now, let me come to the other part of my title, integrated value chain. Now, what are those? Now, when we take agriculture as a vocation, if you see the kind of activities which are involved, the choice of a crop by a farmer, the finance, the soil, the land preparation, uh, seeds and saplings, irrigation, nutrients application, crop protection, cultivation, mechanization, harvesting, post-harvesting operations, storage, transport, processing, marketing, exports, and finally consumption. All these I call agri verticals. I was mentioning that I will come on the concept of verticals. Now, if you see the corporate players and if you see the entire businesses are involved in one or the other vertical. There will be a seed company, there will be a fertilizer company, there will be a tractor company, there will be somebody who is working on warehousing, logistics, and so on. And all of them, as far as entire food system is concerned, and that is why internationally there is a talk of food integration, of food system transformation at the level of UN conference. If you know that UN conference on food was there in the last September, and the people are talking about how do we change this disjointed structure, which is inefficient, which is asymmetric. Some are efficient, the others are not. Some are gaining out of the value chain, the others are not. Some are losers, some are gainers, and excessive gainers. The finance is lagging because the finance is not in terms of the value chain finance, that is financing the entire chain. The finance remains limited in the buckets, the crop finance, the post-harvest finance, the investment finance, the pledge loan finance, and so on, which is again disjointed. Most of the inputs remain bought out, and marketing is totally heavier. We find that the most inefficient part of the entire value chain is agricultural marketing, and that is why probably the government of India wanted to bring farm laws, and then there was so much of opposition for various regions. So what we see agriculture scenario is that it is full of verticals and there are no horizontals. I would urge upon my esteemed colleagues, Mr. Sai is there, Jagdisha is there, Umanath sir is there, Shubham is there. Is it possible for each one of us to start thinking from this moment onwards that how many of these organizations are there in the country who are working horizontally across the value chain? rather than working in agri verticals. Now let us see a few examples. Amul is the biggest example. Now you've got 40 lakh farmers, 50,000 crores worth of industry, and the whole thing is more than 50 years old. Seed industry has always been in the form of a value chain. Poultry has come up recently, and you see Venkatesh Hatchery, Saguna, some of the uh, uh, examples which are there. Sugar industry was always in the form of a localized value chain, because the sugar cane cannot be transported long distances. It is always where the farmers and the industry players are together. There are only few examples. If you see the entire landscape of agriculture, they cover much less than the entire, as I said, raw material of $400 billion. What is missing? There are no value chains in cereals, pulses, oilseeds, cotton, fruits, vegetables, spices, floriculture, other animal husbandries like poultry, sheep, fisheries. So this is the kind of scenario as far as the different parts of the value chain are concerned. And that becomes somehow, you get an idea that if we put this whole thing in place, probably the challenges which we have talked about in the first part of the talk, that is transformation, is possible. Because we have seen that the transformation has taken place in milk sector for those farmers who are attached to them, for poultry sector, for dairy sectors where are localized dairies are there. Wherever we find that there is a local value chain, over a period of time, there is a kind of partnership which has taken place for all the players across the value chain. And then there is a distribution of wealth which is more equitable compared to a disjointed kind of an agriculture value chain, where the intermediaries take much more part of the ultimate produce in the hands of the consumers compared to what uh, is deserving for the farmers. Now, what is that which makes us think that these integrated value chains might come up in future? What are the trends? The first trend is, since we have got more than 85% of the farmers with small and marginal farmers, in fact, it's more than 86%, it is becoming difficult for any individual farmer to be a part of the value chain unless they become organized, like you have seen in Amul. So the trend is that the farmers, producers, organizations, and companies and cooperatives have started coming up. Many of them are just on paper, but many of them are quite strong. And the biggest success story is Sayadri, where 500 crores the turnover for a farmer producer organization whose membership is 1089. Now, these farmers who have come together are active in the field of aggregation, so that there is a scale, primary processing, technology dissemination, input acquisition at a reasonable rate, storage and transport, and some of them have gone into processing, like a small dal mill, or they are working on a dairy. So this is one factor which is conducive to connect them to other parts of the value chain. What is the second? Large number of AgTech. Today, Prime Minister is addressing 50,000 startups in the country, out of which 8,000 are AgTech. How many of them are successful? You are the best judge. Many of these AgTech companies are active in the field of remote sensing, crop advisory, drones, IoTs, mechanization, aggregation of services, soil health advisory, AgFin in the financial sector, irrigation advisory, nutrient advisory, crop protection, crop mechanization, pledge loan financing, collateral financing, and so on. I can give some example. Plantex from Agri, Cropin from Bangalore. I'm sure Suresh must be knowing. SetSure. Planet is another which is working on digitization of the farms. EMI, which is for tractor given on rent, what we call custom hiring. Weather risk management services for weather advisory, and collateral services like ARIA. There are many. So in fact, out of 800, I would say maybe about 10% are quite active. And in fact, some of them have become unicorn. 5 of them have become unicorn. You've got AgroStar, you've got Licious, you've got Ninja Card, which are mainly on e-commerce side. So they are not technology companies per se. So the third part is that many of digital platforms are coming up, which try to connect the farmers with the consumers. There are some SMEs like Go for Fresh. There is Dehat in Jharkhand and Bihar, which has got a membership of 5 lakh farmers. Ninja Cart, Grofers, AgroStar, which is on input side and not on output side, and Licious, which is working on providing meat in the hands of the consumers in a very clean way. And there are others like Desai Fruits and Vegetables, which has given some other name, and so on. But if we see this entire scenario, it is minuscule compared to the entire size. We are having 140 million farmers. And if we see the consumers, we already know that we have got 1300 million consumers. The fourth, so I have said one is FPO, the second is AgTech companies, the third is e-commerce companies, the fourth is there are a number of service providers which have come up. They are working in certain verticals, but reaching to the farmers in an efficient manner, like some fintech companies. There are some logistic companies which work in a manner where they can provide, there are logistic aggregators. Machinery companies, they have aggregated the machinery supply. Advisory companies, irrigation advisory. So this is the fourth kind of activity which is going on. So farmers are getting organized, AgTech companies are willing to give them technology, e-commerce companies are willing to connect them to the market, and there are certain service providers. It means whatever was being done previously in a disjointed manner is now being done little bit in a joint manner, but locally, and also again in one or the other vertical. So what is the outcome of this? Has it helped the value chains? We will come to that. But one outcome is it has been able to give a floor where number of agro entrepreneurship is forthcoming, and what I call agri entrepreneurs are coming. There are, and it gives an further opportunity to multiply a crop or the number of agri entrepreneurs, and that is what Suresh was interested in. Seed agri business. There are some, if you come to Maharashtra, you will find there are seed FPOs which do a business of 1 crore or so. Those who are providing soil health business or advisory. Mechanization, so custom hiring center. Credit business. We have got Samunnati, which is there in Chennai. They have already done, they have given to 1,000 FPOs about 4,000 crores worth of loan. Advisory business, storage in pledge loan, area collateral is working in a big way with the small farmers and also with FPOs. And e-commerce companies on the input side and the output side. So it means that 4 things which I talked about, FPO, AgTech, Then you have got e-commerce and service providers. They have unleashed a phenomena of agri entrepreneurship. But there is a sign of concern. Do we have enough AEs or agri entrepreneurs to cover the entire ecosystem or the integrated value chain? Probably their bandwidth is small. AgroStar will be working on input or little bit of advisory. SetSure will be working only on satellite pictures and then giving some kind of an advisory. None of them is bringing all the factors of production across the value chain on a single platform. So again, we have got too many verticals and too few horizontals. Though the development which has taken place is good. So what is the outcome? What is the solution? That we have to now move one stage further, and where we have got integrated agri value chains, which needs to be established. Whether they are local, they are regional, some of them are at the state level, some could even go at the global level if they have got exports. Like you have got this Sayatri, which is working last year, their exports have been 500 crores, and in terms of grapes, 1 lakh ton, which is a global value chain which I have created. Now, how would it happen? Because for a chain to get established, each one of those links will have to be identified. Because the chain is the series of links they are put together. And I was explaining to Suresh one day that the agri value chain is like a necklace where the pearls are brought together with the help of a backbone, which is the thread. Now that thread is going to be a digital backbone. The pearls are the individual agri verticals, and everything put together, the necklace is the agri value chain. For this, one will have to have the massive data aggregation under all the verticals. Who are these verticals in terms of logistic players, in terms of warehousing? Like recently, warehousing digitization has been done by NABARD. 61,000 warehouses have been geotagged. So some kind of aggregation is taking place. Government of India have started a program of Agri-Stack on the basis of the information of PM Kisan, but still it is half-hearted effort. So there is very little work which is going on in terms of integration or massive data aggregation. This is one challenge which is there. When we say Government of India is bringing seed players together or the nutrient players together, all the verticals we have to bring out the massive data, because any localized value chain would require picking and choosing, as I said, pearls. So unless we know where are those pearls, the necklace cannot be formed. Second thing which is lagging is there is no digital value chain platform. A platform where finance, advisory, input supply, marketing are brought together. Now let us see AgroStar. AgroStar first provides the advisory and then it gives them the input. That's all. There is nothing on marketing. They are starting thinking. It's a company in Mumbai. And the only organization which is really thinking in the terms of an localized value chain is Samunnati. Samunnati has got a formula known as AMLA. AMLA, A is aggregation, ML is market linkage, and A is advising. Jokingly, I told them, you call yourself Pramla, where PR is production. So production, aggregation, market linkage on the basis of intelligent advising. Very close to this kind of a value chain is Dehat. So they are working on input side as well as on output side. EcoZen is another organization which is working on the cold storage, which is solar, and which is connected to the market, because they are also giving the transport services, which is reefer van, and also having an app which connects the farmers with the market. This is the second requirement. That is the digital value chain platform. The third requirement is that we will require a cadre of service providers. Luckily, many of them are there. So under each vertical, there are service providers which are not traditional traders. They are something more than that, where they are on a digital platform and they can easily connect to the different players. Now, all these three put together will require another kind of a outfit. And I would say to Suresh that whatever they are thinking of an Agri Academy at the lower level or the village academy should be ideally be this kind of an organization, which I call an Agri Architect. Why I am giving the name Architect? Architect does not provide any of the components of the house making. Neither they are the cement suppliers or steel suppliers or furniture supplier. They bring all the factors together and give a final output. So what is this Agri Architect? Agri Architect is a different kind of an architect which is bringing the horizontal integration. Now, they may also hold one of the verticals, like if I am doing the ag advisory, but along with ag advisory, I'm also providing them inputs. I'm able to connect them to the machinery suppliers. I'm able to connect them to input suppliers and finally to the market. So I am holding the fort of one vertical. But while holding the fort of one vertical, I am also working horizontally, and this applies to all verticals. Imagine if all the agri verticals in this country start thinking that along with my own vertical, which may be 1,000 crore, let me do a business of 100 crore, which is horizontal, where I require the partnership of others to come together. Does it make sense in terms of income? Let us see. This agri horizontal kind of an actor is working with just 1,000 farmers. 1,000 farmers, 1 lakh we discussed is the income per year. So it means their turnover is 10 crores. Let us say over a period of 3-4 years, this income, as a Prime Minister says, can be doubled, and I'm sure it can be doubled. We have got in Maharashtra examples where the income has become 5 times. It is doubled, then it becomes 20 crores. It means over and above 10 crores, you add 10 crores. Let us say my service charge for this horizontal organization or the organization which is bringing the horizontal integration is just 10%. I earn 1 crore. If I multiply from 1,000 farmers to 10,000 farmers, it becomes 10 crores. This becomes an AgTech which is not working on agri vertical, but it is bringing agri verticals together horizontally to connect the farmers to the consumers. So anyone can engage them, farmers can engage them, any vertical can engage them, and they have got the entire spectrum open, because every agri vertical which is there on their platform would pay them a small service charge, and that is the kind of system which is working together. When you bring a machinery supplier, the machinery supplier pays maybe 1.5%, something like that. Who will do it? And this is where I think I would request Suresh to think about it, that the team to manage it is what your academy talks about. The academy cannot be just providing them based on the farmers who are coming. This is a kind of a team where you have got somebody who works on agronomy, finance, agribusiness, IT, social mobilization, and it becomes a kind of an AgTech player of 5%. Imagine for five villages put together, you have got such kind of an outfit which comes out of the rigorous training, because right now these young entrepreneurs are there in the market. There are finance people, there are IT people, but nobody is bringing them together to handle an agri value chain, because this is something which has not been tried. This was tried first time only by courier, and now recently being tried in case of poultry and in terms of the localized dairy, where they bring this kind of agri entrepreneurs together under a single umbrella, because there will be a food technologist, and there will be somebody who is good in logistics and so on. And that is the kind of service. Instead of putting their own enterprise, they are helping others. Helping others means helping the farmers to connect to the market. Now, what are the lessons from this exercise for agri entrepreneurs or FPOs or producer groups or SHGs? One lesson is that agri enterprise has a choice that they can work for a vertical. As I said, for a seeds, for nursery, for biofertilizer, biopesticide, soil health, irrigation, custom hiring, logistics, storage, banking correspondence, plant protection. This is something which they will come up out of this kind of an academy which Elango sir is talking about, because these agri entrepreneurs will be the bricks of that big kind of a value chain which gets established. There will be some processors, there are cleaners, they do the process of cleaning, grading. All these players are required. Why they are required? Because all these players today are in the hands of bigger corporates who have got their own verticals. So the wealth has moved away from the rural area into the hands of the few corporates in the urban area, or at the best in the hands of some of the traders and SMEs, but not in the hands of youth from the rural area. So these kinds of, like, if I've got a seed business, I can provide the seed locally. If I've got a nursery, I can provide the saplings locally. I've got biofertilizer, I can provide the nutrients, which is not coming from Rashtriya Chemical and Fertilizer. It is available in my back end. And I am providing soil health services and so on. So this is a place where and we are finding that the youth is going away from agriculture. Probably this will be one way to bring them back, because the agriculture process will become more acceptable for such kind of young entrepreneurs. One of the examples is Syngenta Foundation, which have already done 5,000 agriculture enterprises, and they are going to increase it to 10,000. And their entrepreneurs are trained how to provide advisory services, how to provide them credit, connect to the bank, how to provide them the best kind of inputs, connecting to the input companies, and finally, how to market their produce. And many of them are really doing wonderful work and earning as high as 50,000 rupees a month. So this is one choice for agri entrepreneurs. The second choice is to become agri architect. So in agri architect, it is a group activity. It is not a single person. Agri entrepreneur can be a single person. So they will have to manage the entire value chain and working end to end. This is how, if we say there are 10 crore farmers, let us keep aside the bigger farmers, which are roughly about 3-4 crores. If we keep them away, each works for 10,000 farmers. If we say 10,000 farmers, we require 10,000 agri architects. Agri architect organization, which means 50,000 professionals. And it can be anywhere from 50,000 to, if you say just 1,000 farmers are handled by one, you can reach to a level of 5 lakhs. But anything around 50,000 to 1 lakh, such kind of agri startups will be able to connect the farmers to the consumers. I'm coming to the end of my talk because I'm aware that I'm supposed to speak for not more than 60 minutes. What is the impact? The impact would be that the wealth would start flowing back to farming community from large number of intermediaries which are connecting these verticals. The second, losses and inefficiencies in the disjointed value chain will get minimized. Many of you must be knowing 1/3 of our food is lost. And if we see that in terms of the impact on greenhouse gases is immense. Third, the young graduates have an opportunity to become entrepreneurs, and very large in numbers. And could be their number maybe close to 1 lakh. And in that case, we are having either individual entrepreneurs or we are having joint entrepreneurship with the help of AgTech. And for such kind of a large number of organizations, that is the kind of entrepreneurship which will come up. The fourth opportunity is in terms of working with the FPOs. If we say 1,000 farmers for each FPO, and if we see the number of for 10 crore farmers, you will require 1 lakh FPO. But Dr. Sukhpal Singh was saying it may not be required because each FPO can also attract the produce from the non-FPO. In that case, the number will be just 20,000 or 30,000. A good FPO which are connected with not 1,000 farmers but 5,000 farmers, 1,000 members and 4,000 non-members. Fifth opportunity, a fifth impact is a cadre of AgTech service providers that gets started and they get income. Food security, nutritional security, environmental sustainability becomes targets which are possible to be achieved. Technology dissemination, today what we produce is half of what our technology can permit. Half. It means our technology is already advanced enough to produce double of the produce or increase the income by double. So it means by this kind of a system, there is a possibility. The infrastructure gets created in this process. Value chain finance, a product which so far financing institutions have not promoted, will really come up because today they just don't know whom to approach. But when there is a value chain proposition on the table, the bankers would certainly come up with new products where the entire value chain is financed. Samunnati is already doing it because what they do, they finance the farmers on one side, FPO on other side, FPO infrastructure on third side, the trader on fourth side, the buyers on fifth side, and each one of them is receiving finances under one single umbrella of Samunnati. So value chain finance will become a reality. The NPAs of the bankers will come down, which is now more than 10% in agriculture. There is a possibility of convergence of all government interventions on a single platform because today, all those, many of you will be surprised, government puts 5 lakh crores every year in agriculture, but everything is so disjointed that its impact at the ground level does not come. Probably the government will have to rethink. Only one transformation if can happen in government, that we will call through expression of interest the entrepreneurs to set up the localized value chain. Even the corporates can come up for a national or regional value chain. And we say we are not going to give you anything more than what we already give to our farmers and the SMEs, because farmers, government does not give to corporates. They only give the tax benefits wherever they can. The entire assistance from the government comes to either SMEs in terms of 40% of the cost of say cold storage and cleaning and grading and so on, or to farmers where most of the schemes give a high subsidy, capacity building is almost free. Even this kind of a convergence is provided. Nothing more is required. Whatever money is being spent by government is only to be made available in a converging situation. And I call it Agri Investment Promotion Board, that you can call in such an outfit where each such projects are financed. Only thing that all the government schemes are converging. Each vertical will also be able to attract the funding from other sources because wherever they require, these horizontal integrations can also be supported by such organizations, whether from corporate sector or from CSR. Possibility of public and private sector coming together and such kind of a platform will bring multi-stakeholders. There is no negotiating platform where the private sector, the civil society organizations and government sit together. And so the idea would be float an expression of interest for localized value chains and converge all these interventions. Creating a convergence platform would require the government schemes in terms of agriculture. Now, cooperation is a separate ministry, Ministry of Food Processing, Food Ministry, Ministry for Animal Husbandry, Dairy, Fisheries, Rural Development, Water Resources, a tall order. But it is only when we show some results that yes, by way of bringing together the different agri verticals on one single platform, a localized value chain is very much possibility. What Mr. Suresh is trying to do it, if we are able to show that 100 such localized value chain have really become successful, probably the powers that maybe would understand that there is a strength in this kind of horizontal integration of agri verticals. I stop here. I'm 3 minutes before my time. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir, for your enlightening talk. There is something called the forest view, and there is something called the tree view. The experts normally are stuck with the tree view. Most of the people, they spend decades of their career focusing on some particular aspect of the so-called problem. And I'm very glad that we do have in our team people like you who has the forest view, which is very, very essential. It's very easy to sort of go all over the map if you don't have the forest view. Those with the forest view are very rare. And I have no hesitation in stating that some of the people, including your kind self, esteemed self, belong to a place where you have a forest view. You know, when you can coin a term called Agri Architect. In engineering side, we call it system engineering. A person who wants to build a modern jet, say in Boeing, needs to be a system engineer because he need not know one part of the story. He has to know all various components and everything. About 6 million parts come together to make a modern Boeing jet, like a 777, Boeing 777 has about 4 million parts. So only the architects can bring all the various parts together. And your talk today is all about integration. It's all about the forest view. It's all about system engineering. And you have brilliantly coined a term called Agri Architect. And you have come up with several of your own different terminologies and your own lingo over a period of time. Probably, I think they'll have a lot of currency. People might start using it in many parlors. As an innovator, you have done a great job. So coming to the crux of what you said, we do understand that there is a lot of requirement for organizing a complete value chain at the local level. And we can have some pilots which are being done at different places across the country. And over a period of time, we will model this entire value chain to match the kind of blueprint that you have laid in this short lecture. Very enlightening indeed. So before without taking much time, I would like to hand over to people for in this space, entrepreneurs and agri-tech people. Kindly over to all the audience here for their questions and answer session. Thank you very much, sir. Honored. Hello. Now
okay,
you can.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my first question. Sir, this is my point of view. The problem, I think, basically is that there are too many people in agriculture. And that is why what happens is that it's a question of supply and demand. So one idea should be to wean away more people away from agriculture so that there is more automation. So it should be less people intensive. It should be more machine intensive. And I think this is another aspect we should look at to actually increase the farmers' income, to reduce their numbers. So what is your view on that?
Sir, the model which I have presented does exactly the same, because why it is so that we have got large number of persons in basic primary agriculture, and their presence in the value chain is almost nil. Now, what will happen is that those who will be involved in the cultivation practices, their number will go down, and their own family members will move in the direction of aggregation, transport, storage, taking it to small processing, and taking it forward up to the level of marketing. So these functions are now in the hands of those who are not involved in cultivation practices. They are all from urban area. They are involved from corporates. Now imagine that the youth in the village, which is maybe the sons and daughters of those who are cultivating the land today, it becomes a seed supply, becomes a biofertilizer supply, becomes an ag service supply. So the point I'm making is that I dare say that today the entire agriculture sector contributes to 60% of GDP. Not many agree with me. People say 16%, I say 60%. Because we forget about all that which is dependent on basic agriculture. So one day when 16% becomes your contribution, if you are able to capture only 30% out of that 60%, you will be able to absorb half of your manpower from agriculture into these miscellaneous activities. In Maharashtra, you will find wherever the cooperative movement has been successful, you will find that the half of the family income is coming from cooperative movement. The persons are there employed in many of the cooperative societies. They are involved in aggregation. They are having a bill collection center and so on and so forth. So the whole agriculture economy changes from just the cultivation to entire value chain. Same thing is in case of grapes. Those, if you come and see the grape farmers, they are crying that I need more people, because in that case you have involved your entire family into the value chain. You are not involved only in the cultivation practice. So I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
There is a question, sir, which Mr. Jagdish has asked in the chat. He's got two questions. The first one is, should we increase performance of agri value chains of irrigated culture or rainfall agriculture for food security systems to be built in India? As you are aware, agri extension is dead. That's his first question.
Okay. So let me reply to this. See, as we know that the figures as Government of India claims, 45% irrigated land and 55% rainfall. Now, this is something which has happened over a period of last 75 years. So for greater security of farmers' income, one will have to go from a stage of dry land to soil moisture security. This is the word which I have coined, SMS. In short messaging surveys, you start thinking of soil moisture security, minimum moisture which is needed. In agriculture, unless you ensure a minimum moisture to the soil, the security of production goes heavier. So the answer will be slowly we have to move in the direction where this minimal soil moisture is provided. This minimal soil moisture comes from watershed development. It comes from some kind of a decentralized system of water harvesting structures and so on. And people claim that entirely if we work in that direction. Now, how would it happen? It will happen only when collectively, because the government says we will do it. But when these collectives will come at the local level, they have a wherewithal to do it by themselves. They can have a small, like I will give you an example in Maharashtra. Maharashtra, the entire sugar belt, the irrigation has been done privately. It is by private cooperatives. Farmers have come together and invested crores of rupees of their own, taking loan. So the collectives have the power, the value chain has a power to even invest in infrastructure, including irrigation. So I hope I have replied to your question.
His question, the second part is new digital governance platforms of agri services at village accountant level may be more helpful. Please opine.
As long as in a what we call common service center or village accountant or anyone is there, the question is that it's not just information. That is one objection which I have on the academic concept. It is more than that. I would give an example. I have got a great library and I have got all kinds of information there. Now, it is for me to pick and choose in such a manner that I am able to resolve my problem. So what you are saying is that the village accountant is having all kinds of information, but that collection of information for a person who is from outside is just does not make any sense. It is collection of information. It is a collection of books. Now, unless there is somebody says, and which I am saying service provider says that, look, if you are looking for horticulture, these are the 5 information which are relevant. So you study with them and I'm going to help you to bring it together in the form of the value chain. So the answer to your question is that the village accountant or a C will not be able to provide that kind of a soft skill which is required to design, to architect a value chain. So we need value chain architecture. Value chain architecture does not mean just the cement, just the steel, just the wood or furniture. It means how do I bring them together in the form of a structure. That structure requires soft skill. If that soft skill is available at the village level, nothing like that. Yes, let it be. But since the kind of skills which are required, you will require financing skill, you will require agronomy skill, you will require IT skill, you will require management skill. If it is possible to be absorbed by a single individual, yes, please go ahead. But I don't think that in the present situation, that one single individual will be able to provide that. That is why we are having, in case of corporate players, you have host of consultants. There are consulting organizations. I am not talking about, I hate to use the word consultant. I am saying I am a service provider. So I have 2 kinds of service providers. One kind of service providers which are working on a vertical. I am a nursery service provider, I am a seed service provider. Why? Because what Mr. Nayak was talking about is that part of the labor will get shifted into these agri verticals. The second is, they are there, nursery man is there, that biofertilizer person is there. Now, how do I do my vegetable business? It means that I will have to pick and choose inputs from these verticals to make my horizontal, to make my necklace. If your skill of necklace is there in the village accountant, please go ahead. Please train them to such an extent that when a farmer comes, he or she is competent enough to tell them, these are the bits and pieces, you bring them together, your income will increase. Thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else? Shubham? Your audio is
Shubham, you switch off your video. Then it will be audible. Switch off your video.
Now my earphone has some problem.
Now you are audible. Yeah.
Audible? Yeah. Okay. So sir, you mentioned one point that in the dairy industry they are making like 850 crores of business and only 400 crores around is going to the farmers, something like that. Correct me if I made the wrong statement.
8.5 lakh crores, 4 lakh crores.
Yeah. Okay. So, so this is like 50% of the money is going to the farmers.
Yeah,
So
less than 50.
yeah, right. So less than 50, close to 50. Yeah. Where that means the raw material provider is getting 50% of the end amount, which means only 50% is going towards the processing, marketing, and managing the supply chain costs. So by which I feel like this is very optimal. So why do you think, sir, that more of this should go to the farmers, or the farmers are getting lesser share?
Very good question. The most efficient value chain is dairy. Okay, and that is why in dairy you are getting good amount in the hands of the farmers. So if you
Right.
are selling, and here we are talking about only the liquid milk. So if you are selling a liquid milk at 60 rupees a liter, 30 rupees is going to the farmer. Okay. Now, if you see the same thing, for example, in case of tomatoes, 5 rupees a kg in Junnar in Maharashtra sells at 50 rupees a kg in Mumbai. So my
Okay, so
share is
your
10%.
statement was okay. So your statement was not for the milk industry, but for the other.
No, let me correct. Now, let us say instead of just handing over my raw milk in the hands of, say, another dairy, I establish a small dairy myself where the farmers come together and say, I form an FPO. We are 100 farmers. We have got 500 cattle. We work together and make little investment, connecting them to the bankers. I have my own dairy. In that case, that 30 rupees which I was getting now becomes 60. So the point is, in the entire value chain, because everyone is eating today, to say that we are doing something new, it's not going to happen. Only thing, it will make things little more efficient. So the money which is going in the hands of the intermediaries, very large number of intermediaries, will start coming back in the hands of the, because consumer in any case is paying raw material plus intermediary cost plus the value addition. Now this intermediary cost, if you are able to minimize, in that case, this will go either in the hands of the value adder, or it will be in the hands of the producer. So the question is, if you have a localized value chain of a, say, dairy, because you will find many of the FPOs do this khoa business. They make it value added, or they make some sweets. They earn much more than 30 rupees a kg, 30 rupees a liter.
Correct,
So
correct.
the point is that what Mr. Nayak was saying, if I keep on giving only my fresh milk in the hands of somebody else, what will happen to my grandson and great grandson in future? They will continue to have rearing these animals. So mechanization of my dairy will reduce my strength of manpower in dairy per se, but I will divert that manpower into value addition. I will start packing it myself. This is the model which is working in China. In China, why the prosperity in agriculture is much higher than what we have in India? Their for the same number of farmers, their agriculture GDP is $1,100 billion. Ours is 400. It's because they are able to capture the value, and that value is captured by the farmers and not by a third party. I hope I have replied to your question. No, you are mute. You are
muted, Subham. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So I was saying, yeah, very well elaborated, and I understood it totally. But the thing is, sir, very frankly speaking, I feel that right now the farmer is in a dire state, in such a dire state that he is finding it difficult to get the bare minimum cost of production, the market price of the produce. What you are saying is very visionary. So probably given the current state of the situation, it will take another, say, minimum of 5 to 10 years for a farmer to reach that stage.
No,
Because
no, Shubham, I got your point. See, this is gradual. Nobody starts processing on day one. Let us see how the farmer's income increase. There are 4 pillars of farmer's income. Reducing the cost of cultivation, increasing productivity, third, improving quality, fourth, capturing better market. Okay, now capturing better market would also mean value addition. Now, if I am able to have my productivity of animals increased, my income increases. When I have my cost reduced because I am now using the better kind of feed and the feed available, and I'm also producing at my level. So don't get disheartened by this. I will reach to a level of maybe 200% in 5 years. But what stops me to go from 100% to 120% in first year? So this is a journey. And many of the farmers have already started going into that direction. You will be surprised. You should see some of the farmers who have been able, some of the best vehicles, first time are purchased in Nasik and Kolhapur. You will not find that number of the best cars purchased in anywhere in the country. The first car, the most expensive one, comes in Kolhapur and Nasik. How is it possible? How did it happen? Today, Nasik's GDP is highest in the country. None of the so-called Punjab and Haryana district is close to Nasik, because the Nasik produces the best kind of grapes, the best kind of pomegranates, and the best kind of vegetables, and they have gone into agri-business. Go and see some of these progressive farms. I'm saying the point is, how do we multiply these success stories? 14 crore farmers, maybe 14 lakhs are rich, who are able to understand this, that they have understood 2 things. One, I should be diversified in my portfolio. So I should not put all eggs in one basket. I should do agriculture, horticulture, animal husbandry, dairy, fisheries together. Second, they have understood that I should not sell my produce in the so-called APMC market or mandi. Let me find out the best kind of market which is available outside mandi. And third, let me not be dependent on large number of external players. Let me start doing my own little seed, little fertilizer, little pesticides, and so on, which I can do at my own level. Fourth, let me not start doing everything by myself. Let us come together and farm a group. So there are people who are working on floriculture. They have become multimillionaire. They have got greenhouses together. At one place, you will find 50 greenhouses. Farmers have come together. They have their own pack house. The point is, how do I make it happen at a large scale? And on the basis of my experience, I say I should be able to do it with the help of service providers. Those who would like to make it happen. It will not happen on its own. Whether you call it Sri Lango's academy, and if the academy is able to convert them, I would be happy. Or there is an Agri Architect which does it, I will be happy. If there is an AgTech company who will make it happen, I will be happy. Let anybody, but to expect that all these verticals are there and the farmers one day will become multimillionaire, it will not happen. We need nudging, we need convergence, we need people to come together, we need to help them how to have a localized value chain. And that, unfortunately, the role which should have been played by the government has not been done, which should have been done by some of the big corporates, it has not been done. It is in the hands of Shubham. It is the hands of the young people who would say, I take a challenge that I will make 10,000 farmers richer, but in the meantime, not at free cost. I will take my cut. I will make you rich by 10 lakhs, but you have to pay to me 1 lakh.
Fair enough, sir. That's a very fair point, actually. Yeah. So that is essentially what you were talking about, the Agri Architect platform.
Yes.
Anyone else, please? One second, sir. I have a question regarding the FPO, the latest withdrawal of reforms that happened in this country recently. So the agri mandis need to be paid their levy or whatever. So how it has impacted the FPO movement in the country, and what are the consequences of this withdrawal as far as the FPO movement is concerned, sir?
So far, whatever has happened in the FPO is without those reforms which were being talked about.
Right.
So when there are 8,000 FPOs and 10% of them have done excellently well, they have done it without these reforms. Okay. So
Well, sir.
to say that the reforms only would have changed the scenario at the ground level is incorrect. And in fact, all of us should keep on saying that don't lose heart. Why I'm saying this? Reforms came in 2003. They have not come in 2019.
Right.
Reforms came in 2003. Before, I would say this came first time during the time of Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Now, there was a committee headed by Mr. K.M. Sahani, who was Additional Secretary. And they first time drafted a model APMC Act. Maharashtra adopted it in 2006, Andhra adopted in 2005, and 16 states have already adopted in the country. In Maharashtra, you can get a direct marketing license outside APMC, but pay the cess to the respective APMC, but you can buy outside. You can have a private mandi. You can have an electronic market. How do you think these FPOs are doing? All FPOs have a direct marketing license because it has made them eligible to buy directly from the farmers outside mandi.
Okay.
So I'm saying that all states have, including that Punjab, which opposed. Punjab also has got a contract farming act, you know. So I'm saying that the only problem is that reforms have taken place for last 15 years. And in spite of those reforms, the movement which we see at the ground level is much less. So I'm saying reforms is a paper. And we require Suresh, we require Shubham, we require Mr. Nayak, and we require Mr. Jagdisha and their energy to make it happen. Now that energy is service provider. I would make it happen. Who should make it happen? Now you tell me who is there to make it happen once the reforms are there. Suppose I introduce the reforms, who is there in the market who will make it happen? That is
I remember one of your statements, sorry to interrupt you, sir. One of your statements in one of the webinars that I heard, you said it's not the time for schemes, government for reforms or schemes and all kinds of things on paper. It has to be programs rather than schemes.
Projects.
Implementation is more important. Projects, yeah. Correct.
Move from programs to projects.
Right. That was an excellent point that you made.
Programs are parallel lines which never meet.
Right.
Project is a convex lens.
Right. That was a very good point, actually.
You put a convex lens there.
Yeah.
All those horizontals come together on a single point, and they are able to have enough energy to burn
True.
any paper. The parallel lines will never do it.
True, true.
So you will have to
True.
channelize, and you don't require all programs. See, the point I am making, government has got 1,000 programs. And I want to put a value chain. I say out of these 1,000, can you give not to me, to my clientele, that is those farmers and SMEs? Because I always feel farmers and SME are the building block of a value chain. Farmers as growers, SMEs as aggregators and primary producers, primary processors. And you as a corporate player is to connect them to the market. So it is a partnership. In agriculture, there is nobody who is big and small. Let us stop talking about they are big and we are small. Those big will not survive without small.
True.
In other industries, they can survive, but in agriculture, no, because there is no corporate agriculture. It is only individual agriculture. So all agriculture entrepreneurship cannot survive without hardworking farmers. So
True.
those who say that they will be exploited and they will be crushed are just meaningless. The only point is, how do I come together and negotiate? In case of sugar industry, farmers every year negotiate a price and say, unless in Maharashtra, they go on strike. They say, this is the price. If you are not giving this price, the same thing happens in UP. UP and Maharashtra are the biggest sugarcane growers. And in both the places, they are able, the government helps them, statute helps them, factories will have to listen to them. At times, they will go for losses and they say, this is the clientele I will have to maintain with me, otherwise my factory is closed. Now in Maharashtra, the grapes growers have come together and say, nothing doing. If you want to export, my price is 82 rupees in January, 78 rupees in February, and 64 rupees in March. If you want to take it, otherwise go. This is the strength.
Right.
What is the strength of the farmers? One is
Aggregation.
another is quality. Third is timeliness. And quality, quantity, timeliness will not come from corporates. It will not come from Ambani. It will not come from Adani. Why are you keep on saying that Adani and Ambani will crush agriculture? Do they have a power? Now, just because of an imaginary kind of a fear that the whole thing will be taken over by the corporates, the entire system, it is just a framework. Within that framework, how do you do it? So I am saying that without those reforms, farmers are doing it, and farmers of, I can say for Maharashtra, I can say for Gujarat, do you know in Gujarat, most of the farmers who are progressive in cotton, they export cotton bales. They don't sell it in the local market. They come together, they convert it into bales, and they export it through Kandla port. These are the farmers of this country. Where is the corporate? Because this is something which only they can do, nobody else. Because I grow, I have that power to grow. So only thing is that if you continue to make them disintegrated, if you do not allow them to come together, if they are not coming in the form of an aggregation and value addition, and at the same time a discipline of say minimum residue levels, quality parameters, and so on. Why exporters are very low? Because many of the farmers are not able to follow that discipline. And if they, how do they follow the discipline? They will require Suresh, they will require an academy at the local level and tell them that yes, this is how you can produce the exportable produce. But they will listen to you when you will also bring a buyer. Say, he is my buyer, you are the growers, and I am here to help you how to grow so that your produce is taken over by this buyer. So I would need a buyer, I would need enlightened farmers, and I would need Suresh in between. Whether you call it academy, whether you call it Agri Architect, whether you call it, you give it any name. But if you say you are the buyer and you are the farmers and talk to each other and make it happen, it will not happen.
True.
That situation is already there. There are buyers and there are growers. Between buyers and growers, we will find enlightened souls. We will require service providers. We will require social entrepreneurs. But social entrepreneurs are, after all, entrepreneurs. That is why I say earn 10% of the increased income. Do not say,
True.
okay, I will give you services, and for services you pay me 10 lakhs, where your income has not increased even by 1 lakh. Most of the
This
input
is
companies,
holding them accountable. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Great. Any other questions from any other gentlemen and ladies here? Mansa?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And can I request Sai to give the vote of thanks today?
Yeah, sure. So it is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of the YouGrow Foundation, extend a very hearty gratitude to you, Dr. Goel, for sharing your experience with us today. We've been fortunate to have one of the eminent personas such as yourself from the agri industry. And yeah, I must mention a profound sense of appreciation for sharing with us your thoughts and experience on transforming agriculture through integrated value chains. It has been a pleasure to host all the participants of the event as well, and we're all inspired, highly inspired by your lively words. So thank you so much again.
thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.